Small group training is a strategic business initiative. Critical thought and planning are essential. Successful small group training programs go well beyond simply trying to replicate what's going on down the street at the local fitness studio boutique. Great attention and much detail must be paid to the design of space, the selection of products, and the training applications, which we'll look at in greater detail. But before we do, let's take a look at some of the common mistakes that clubs make when implementing small group training into their club environment. One common small group training mistake many make is lack of focus and defined identity. Avoid falling into that Me Too trap. What works in a boutique studio may not work quite as well in a club studio setting. Choose to innovate rather than replicate. Disconnection with member demographic is another common mistake. There is a need to determine if a small group training session offering is going to take on more of a health, fitness, or performance identity. Small group trainings become synonymous with HIIT conditioning, which for many are too intense and over the top for the general population of members. Small group training should promote participation from the majority of club members rather than be geared toward inclusion for the minority of the members. The next common small group challenge is poor timing. Now this might sound quite basic, but it's oftentimes missed. Small group training sessions should be held at a time that is most conducive to when the member desires a particular type of training session. It's important to remember that members have the option of choosing multiple training sessions throughout the day and the week that fit into their schedule. It's also important to consider whether the small group training session is more of a 30-minute express session or a 1-hour class offering. Another typical small group training mistake is lack of diversity and options. You need to keep the small group training offering fresh while at the same time allowing a format and structure that may be easily retained and replicated by both instructor and the training group participants. So change up the order, but not the overall structure of the training session. Maintain baseline exercise moves, but be able to modify them for participants of varied fitness levels. Poor program adherence is another common challenge we experience with small group training. Getting members to stick with a small group training offering comes down to what I call the 3 C's: culture, coaching, and community. Culture represents your philosophy and approach to inspiring people and creating impact. Coaching is the ability of a group setting to listen and to learn from participants. And community is a sense of belonging, sharing, and camaraderie. And finally, void of a champion is probably what I would say is one of the most common small group training mistakes. You need a small group training champion to lead the charge, not only with program design and instruction, but also somebody that's going to work shoulder to shoulder with the marketing, sales, and training department so that a consistent and precise small group training message is being translated throughout the entire facility. So now that we've covered some of the more common obstacles encountered with the establishment of club small group training programs, let's take a look at space allocation, product identification, and training application. Let's first address the allocation of the small group training space. As the old saying goes, location, location, location. A decision must be made if small group training sessions will be conducted in an isolated, enclosed, out-of-the-way club location or within a dedicated open area out on the general membership floor in full view of the members. And another important consideration to be made is if the small group training space will be available to members when it's not being used to conduct small group training sessions. The small group training space should be inspiring. It should stimulate the senses with colors, lighting, textures, music. It's important to make it a special place that is differentiated from areas that the member typically works out in. It should be inviting, yet have a bit of feel of exclusivity and excitement about it. It should provide an immersive experience and not just another great workout. The training space layout and design are crucial. Before thinking about populating the space with products, it's important to consider the percentage of your space you wish to allocate for strength training, cardio conditioning, or open area body weight moves. Another consideration is the identification of the product placement. Is it a perimeter training environment that positions most of the products along the walls to provide more of an open area in the middle? Or is it a center style setup that positions the principal product offerings in the middle of the space to provide more of that 360-degree circuit style training? And then yet another option is the more traditional club, what I call end-to-end setup, where you have your strength product on one side of your space and the cardio product on the opposite side, with some of that open area space in the middle, providing more of an interval training experience. When considering the setup of the small group training space, keep in mind not only these programming suggestions, but also pay close attention to training session management, the flow of the class, and the ease of instructional coaching within the environment. Now that we've discussed the small group training space, let's talk about the selections of products for that space. When considering the selection of product, keep the following 3 points in mind. Point number 1, the participant experience and outcome. These should be principal drivers in the determination of small group training product selection. Is the intent to provide more of a traditional fitness training experience, a more progressive, functional training experience, or more of a specialized performance training experience? Point number 2, the alignment of product with program, member, and instructor. Take into consideration what the program desires to offer, who the target training participant is, and how experienced the instructor is as a small group training coach. And finally, point number 3, product selection. A clear differentiation from general membership offerings must be provided. The value proposition for this training offering should focus on personalized instruction, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and achievement of desired outcome. Now on to application, where the small group training space and products come alive. Small group training brand identification requires careful consideration be paid to what words you choose to name your small group training program, how you message it to members, who the target audience is, and why a member should consider engaging in small group training. All of these play either directly or indirectly into solid brand positioning, resulting in greater participant engagement and overall small group training program success. When it comes to small group training content development, careful consideration must be paid to the instructor and the member's capacity. Typically, with less experienced small group training coaches, a closed program that's more plug and play is preferred. If the coaches are somewhat experienced with small group training programming and instruction, an open program design may be considered, where they're provided with the basic format of the training session, but given some latitude to populate that format with exercise content they desire and are most familiar with. And in the case of a very experienced small group training coach, who has a lot of programming experience, there is an opportunity to engage them in the process of driving custom program design and content development. What it really comes down to is, does the facility wish to take more ownership of the program content or place that responsibility in the hands of the coach? Regardless of whether a closed, open, or custom approach is taken with the design of small group training content, careful consideration must be taken to be sure that the content accommodates a wide range of user types and abilities, while providing the intended and desired outcome. The best small group training coaches are those that can blend the excitement and energy of large group exercise with that personalized approach offered with one-to-one training. To engage the best coaches, they must see value in teaching small group training. Not only monetary value, but also the value related to their status and position within the club, member popularity, and ability to drive more members to other types of training they conduct within the facility. One thing's for sure, you can have the best small group training space with the greatest products in that space, but the driving force behind any successful group training offering is the quality of the instruction, along with the personality, energy, and excitement that the coach brings to each training session to engage and captivate each small group training participant. So as your customers move more deeply into the world of small group training, keep in mind the typical challenges that most every club face: the design of space, the selection of product, and the implementation of training application. Then with this knowledge and awareness, guide those customers down the road to success with small group training in their facility.